Hey guys, my name is Shy, and this is a rather overdue pick a card reading. This is a timeless reading, but there is this feeling of overdue, and I think it's both like literally me making this video feels overdue, but that's because of the underlying energy. Like each one of these readings is going to be its own thing, and I don't really have a specific theme in mind, but there is something. I have this feeling of like a clog underneath the surface, like a clogged throat chakra, or like something that wants to be birthed, something that has been struggling to move. And I don't want to make it sound pathological, like, and it's not even necessarily that it's been a delay, right? Everything is happening exactly as it's as it's happening, but it's almost maybe the emotions we have attached to this or the expectations we have attached to something is making it feel delayed or overdue. And it also feels very kind of full where it's like it feels like a little bit of a big push, and there is a lot of intensity here. The energy feels like it feels very ripe. Okay, it feels very, very ripe. And I imagine that for those of you like where these messages are gonna be really resonating, like if this video is really for you, there is a feeling of it's just a lot of energy here, right? It's a lot of energy here. Whew. And I can tell that this video is going to kind of take a lot out of me. So, and I mean that only to reflect to you that you might be feeling like something has been taking a lot out of you. Like there's been something that has been a big energetic project, and I don't know. So we're going to see. So you've either already picked your card from the thumbnail, which I just threw up some numbers because I didn't really want any visual imagery attached to this. The numbers themselves have meaning, or, you can go ahead and pick from your card. So the timestamps should be in the description box, and I will see you in your reading. Okay, card number 1. Actually, let me wow, so as soon as I as soon as I start, I'm trying to start card number 1, reading number 1, and there's already like something I forgot to do, which was to clear out these other 2 cards, and I just had a fan turn on, so we have a little bit of a delay. Let me just handle that. Okay, so right away for you guys, you may have been experiencing, like, you will know this reading is for you, right? If you've been experiencing something like a false start, or every time you try something, it feels like there's interference or some distraction, something coming up, or something wasn't quite ready. And part of that is like you're not wrong. You're probably just a little bit early. You're probably just a little bit early. And like, I feel like the frustration and the kind of annoyance with that, because it's not. Life might sometimes make you feel like your timing is off or that your speed is wrong, and you might have to slow down for others quite often, and that might be quite annoying. You might have fast moving energy, like, I'm thinking like a Aries and Gemini, maybe also Scorpio, just, as a couple of things that pop out here just as symbols for the energy, where you want to move, you want to go, and you're fucking ready to go, 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 but the rest of the world isn't necessarily operating on your level. And it's not that you are wrong or that there's anything wrong with your speed. It's just that there's literally a mismatch. So part of what you've been reckoning with is that sometimes you're just early and you literally have to wait. That doesn't mean that there's wrong, that you're wrong, or that there's anything wrong with you. It's just there's this literal mismatch. And I can feel myself wanting to speak really fast. So there's definitely Aries and Gemini energy rolling around here. That could be just transits that are happening at the time that you see this video. It could be you. Yeah, bear with me because I might be tripping over my tongue a lot, because I'm really feeling a lot of pressure to speak very fast. And I can talk really fast when I want to, but I know I can talk so fast that sometimes people complain that they can't follow what I'm saying. So that's just a reflection of the speed of your energy here. Let's see what this card is. You got the Yggdrasil, the World Tree. Wow. I'm just like feeling into that. So this is this Norse magic deck, and I don't actually want to get too into the specifics of Norse mythology and stuff like that. I want to use these symbols rather generally and just take a look at this art here, right? This light language. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. Isn't it a little reminiscent of Metatron's cube in a way? All these interconnecting circles and the shapes within the shapes. It's very cool. The Yggdrasil, the world tree. So I'm seeing this kind of central pillar, right? Just think of the central pillar, and it's this feeling of you entering that central pillar, the central pillar of the self, the axis mundi. There's so many different, every tradition has a different type of symbol here about this like vertical connection, but it's really talking about this returning to yourself, returning to your center, because it is by returning to yourself and returning to your center, that's what gives you access to all of these other realms, to all of these other worlds. It is through the return to self or the return to center. And there's this talk here of the art of self-return, the art of self-return. It's like, no matter, I feel like this is a skill you have been building and honing and practicing, and now you are the fucking master at it. So no matter what life has thrown at you, no matter what you have been through, no matter what you've struggled with, no matter what you have been building and creating, it's like you do all of this through returning to the self. You actually are, it's because we all kind of face these choices where, when life gets difficult, we can, how do we choose to react to that? We can numb ourselves. We can avoid ourselves. We can allow ourselves to collapse. We can allow ourselves to be destroyed, and we can kind of, we can escape the self, right? We can bleed out into the things that are around us, or we can return to the self. We can return to the self. We can return to the self. And it is through the art and the practice of self-return that essentially all things become available to you. So no matter what it is that you are doing, just know that keep returning to the self. Keep returning to the self. Keep returning to the self. That is your key. Because as you return to that centered self, that is essentially your world tree, right? That is your Yggdrasil. That is the central column. That is the central pillar. And that is where all the doors open for you. So no matter what is going on, always remember the art of self-return. And it's like, you don't need instructions on how to do this. You have already been practicing this, and you are an expert at the art of self-return. But perhaps you never fully understood that, or you never fully articulated that. So I'm only pointing this out just to give you a little bit of like external reflection and a little bit of external confirmation and a little bit of language, perhaps, so you can go, oh yeah, that is what I always do. No matter what happens, I return to myself and I return to my center. And that is your greatest protection. Okay. That is your greatest protection. That is your greatest skill. That is what you need to know. That is like what you need. Especially if you ever wonder, like, I don't know if I really want to get too into this, but let me just try to address this really closely, like really briefly, as like an aside for maybe a few people. If you ever wonder, maybe you even have some kind of survivor's guilt, when you look around and you go, well, how do I always manage to pull myself back together and continue? When so many people that I know, maybe they are stuck or they have collapsed, or, they have gone into the black hole, and you see them. And even though you see all of their potential and you feel like you're not really that different from them, how come they have essentially allowed themselves to be destroyed, and yet here you are still persevering? Like, what's the difference? How have you managed to persevere when they seem to have chosen self-destruction? It's because the difference is literally that you continually choose and practice the art of self-return. You continuously return to yourself. That's the difference. That is the real difference. It's not like discipline or luck or whatever other things you might come up with. And I mean, those things, they can kind of help and assist, but at the bottom of it all, it's you either choose to return to the self, or you kind of choose to allow yourself to be destroyed. So the art of self-return is like the constant reaffirmation of, this is me, this is me, this is me, and I am continuously returning to my own center over and over and over and over and over and over. And what I'm seeing is, like, you've done this so many millions of times. Like, sometimes you even do this like constantly, even throughout the day. And then, of course, over and over and over so many lifetimes that this is what you do, right? You have just honed this skill. And that's what brings you all of the opportunities, right? That's what brings you to I'm just seeing you like inside of this chamber of like, what I'm actually seeing is this chamber of like blaring, like really bright, like white light, but that is like tinged with blue around the edges. Kind of looks like white, flame. When flame is so hot, it's white hot, and then it like has blue, like licks around the edges. That's the quality of this light. And that is the light that you have been igniting at your core, this flaming white light with the blue edges. You've made it that bright and that hot, that is the color of it. And it's by standing in that light, that's when you see all of the doors open all around you, and then you can navigate the multidimensional reality by choosing those doors, right? The Yggdrasil is the world tree where now you can choose where you go from there. So, wow, that almost feels like a complete message, but I will go ahead and get you a few tarot cards here. Okay, the Temperance card was already at the bottom of the deck, and that I'm gonna take it because, one, I shuffle my cards before I put them away, and two, the Temperance card has been haunting. Okay, it has been haunting, and it has been so significant. It has been so significant. So I have a specific interpretation for the Temperance card for right now. It may differ from other interpretations that you have heard. This is not really about balance, and it is certainly not like a gentle card. Sometimes Temperance is understood to be this like gentle blending and mixing or balancing. That is not the type of Temperance I'm talking about here. That's not what's coming up right now. This is the Temperance of being forged in the alchemical furnace. This is Temperance where like it is like the literal act of alchemy, and it is intense, and it is hot, and it is fiery, and it is full of pressure. So you've been in this like pressurized state, like you've been in the pressure cooker, you've been in this alchemical furnace, like you are the alchemical furnace. But there's this feeling of you being inside of yourself, like you are both the furnace and the thing being forged inside of the furnace. And it is this especially this pressure of the collision of opposites. And you might be like, that might even be kind of crazy making, where you feel yourself like trying to hold these opposites. And I feel like you guys, you have already been through the paradox initiation, okay? Maybe you've heard me talk about it. Maybe you already thought of, like, understood it yourself. Maybe you've had this explained to you by someone else. You already understand about holding opposites, right? Holding opposites, holding the paradox, allowing this and that at the same time. You already encompass polarity. You already can exist and understanding that one thing and its opposite can both be true at the same time. Yeah, you already know that. You have already been doing that. You're like way ahead of the game, right? But now it's not just holding these two opposites, like holding them separately. It's fusing them together. It's tempering them so that they become a new thing. And this isn't like, it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 11, right? It's not like, it's becoming more than the sum of your parts. It is creating the third thing. It is creating something brand new. And here's the thing about this brand new third thing that you are creating. And so you don't have any actual examples for what this looks like. And this is it's about your identity. It's about yourself, but it's also about like a much bigger, greater mission is attached to this. It's so interdimensional that I cannot even possibly describe it. So this is happening on so many multiple levels that all I can do is just gesture at the enormity of it. But part of the frustration, and maybe even some of you feeling like doubt, maybe self-doubt coming up as a fear, right? Coming up as a fear-facing moment of self-doubt. It's because you don't actually have any templates or any examples or any role models about what you are becoming. You're becoming literally something brand new, like literally something entirely new that has not been seen before. There is no template, there is no example. So, and it's almost like, you know, so often people say, if you can imagine it, well, then it exists, right? If you can dream it, then you can do it. If you can imagine it, then it exists somewhere in this universe. But the feeling I have here is that, and I'm getting, the energy here is so, it's like almost physically sickening, actually. I'm like sweating and like, it's really unpleasant. So this is like insane energy. You don't even know what you're becoming because you can't fully imagine it. And so that's actually part of what you've been struggling with is you have to do this blind. And I mean blind as in you literally can't even imagine what you are becoming. You literally cannot even imagine what you are creating. Because, you know, if you could see an example, if you could see a template, if you could see an outcome, if you had something to look at and go, or if you could even imagine, right? But what you're becoming and what you're creating is beyond your own imagining. So you literally have no idea. You literally can't see it. So, and because you haven't fully understood that, you haven't fully sat down with yourself and said, okay, I am becoming something I do not understand. I am becoming something I cannot imagine. I am creating something that is beyond my own imagining. So that's what we can do right now is say, okay, I am becoming something that I do not fully understand and that I cannot fully imagine. I am creating something that I cannot fully imagine. And that means that I am evolving and moving forward blind. I am walking into, and I am growing. I have a growth pattern even that I don't understand. And so what the struggle there is that your mind is trying to give you examples. Your mind is trying to give you an outcome. Your mind is trying to give you a goal. Your mind is trying to give you a template or a role model. And all of those examples, they're not fully true. They're not fully accurate because they are something that already exists. They are something that you have already encountered. They are something that you already are capable of imagining. But you are literally becoming beyond your own imagining. And nobody else is doing this. You are becoming and creating something entirely unique. And that is why it is so intense and confusing and uncomfortable, because you are not just walking into the unknown, you are becoming the unknown. Whew. Okay. Okay. I'm getting like just prickles all over myself, and it feels like it's like 100 degrees in here. So that is the message for you guys. You are becoming the unknown. Yeah. And what am I supposed to say beyond that? So, I mean, I'm going to see what else comes out in the rest of these readings. Other than that, guys, sending you so much life. Life? Sending you so much life? Yeah, let's go with that. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, card number 2. Drum roll, please. I do not even know what this word is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm not even going to look it up in the book. I'm just going to allow it to be. Look at that art on there. Doesn't that look like a door? That looks like a door to me. And interestingly, it looks like the keys are already in the door. The keys are in the door. And that there's this feeling here, are you the door? Have you become the door? Are you the doorway? Five of Pentacles. Sorry about the loud truck going by. Look at her sitting in front of the doorway. Ten of Pentacles. We go from the Five of Pentacles to the Ten of Pentacles, and the Emperor with the Five of Swords. This is about your path, the path that you have walked. Five of Pentacles and Five of Swords on one side. The path you have walked. You have been starved for something. You have gone without something. You have had your probably more than your fair share of failures and disappointments. This is the translation moment. Not the transition moment, the translation moment. The translation moment. This energy is, I mean, a lot of you probably watched the first reading, and I can see how this bleeds into that. But the energy here is a lot slower, right? A lot slower. It's like Hanged Man energy. It's this feeling of being in a pause. A pause while something is under construction. And even over here, you know, we have the doorway in the center. I mean, that's how I'm interpreting this card. Some of you might know what this is and, you know, have it that might mean something to you, but I'm just seeing this as a doorway. And you are the doorway at the center here. And then over here, you have both what you become and what you create. The Emperor and the Ten of Pentacles. You go from the Five of Swords and the Five of Pentacles to the Ten of Pentacles and the Emperor. That's what you are becoming, and that is what you are creating. Created. It's like this is already real. This already exists. You break the curse by showing and demonstrating that the curse is false. Has anybody seen the movie Lady Hawk? Okay, the movie Lady Hawk. Maybe one person has seen it. It's like an 80s movie. There's some messages in that movie for someone. If you want to go watch Lady Hawk from the 80s. I don't remember what year it's from or who the director was, but Lady Hawk. Just let's look it up. There'd be some messages in there. And there's something here. I don't want to spoil the movie, but just throwing that out there for, you know, maybe one person. You break the curse by being the demonstration that the curse is false. You be the proof of you invalidate the curse by being the invalidation. Like, okay, let me try to make what I'm trying to say here more clear. So in an extremely mundane level, someone could say, like, you can't, like, you don't have black hair. You can't have black hair. But then you go and you dye your hair black and voila, you have black hair. Like, you proved that statement incorrect. You proved it wrong. You invalidated it by doing something to show that it is not true, right? So that is like That's what I mean on just like a silly little concrete example level. So on a much bigger level, and when I say curse, I don't. What do I mean when I say curse? So what I mean here is like a curse. It's this word we use to label an entrenched belief, like a belief that has become so entrenched, it's functioning as a fact when really it isn't actually a fact. It is just a belief that has become so big, so immovable, so stuck, so entrenched that it seems like it is this ultimate truth or like this ultimate fact. So, think about what that could be in your life. And maybe I'm feeling really that you're going to have to look into the past of your life for this, because I'm feeling like you've already actually broken this curse. Yeah, you have. You've already broken this curse, and maybe some of you haven't like noticed yet, because there can be a lag time between breaking the curse and then actually like realizing that it's broken. But you've already broken this curse. It's, for a lot of you, it's going to be so ancestral, but for some of you, it's bigger than that. It's more kind of social, like conceptual. It's kind of broader, where there's some kind of entrenched belief, or what we could call a kind of curse, where that says like, you cannot do this, you cannot be this, it is too hard to do this, it is too hard. It's this thing about something keeping you stuck, some kind of entrenched belief that is essentially, it keeps people stuck. And it's not just you personally. Like this is not like a personal thing. It's not personal to you. It's something that is shared with so many, right? This belief that keeps people stuck. And so you are the curse breaker, and you break the curse by literally being the opposite of the curse, like being the opposite of that entrenched belief. This could be your rags to riches story. This could be doing something that seemed impossible, right? That seemed impossible. And yet you're doing it. You've done it. You do it in the future, right? It is because as soon as something exists that negates the curse, that stands in contradiction to the curse, it neutralizes the curse. And therefore the curse is broken. It has no more power, right? Once upon a time, people probably imagined that humans couldn't stand on the moon. Well, humans have stood on the moon. It's something like that, right? We change our beliefs by literally doing the thing. And this is like, I'm not fully capturing the significance here. I'm not fully capturing the significance of this. So use my surface level words here to probe into how deep this is for you, because it's deeper than it seems and deeper than it sounds. In tension with number 22, the owl and the egg. Oh, so for you, the Wizard of Awareness with number 3. And then unexpected visitors with 41, the door opening, the light coming in, and someone showing up. So with intentions, this has something to do with your intentions. And by your intentions, I mean like your hopes and dreams. I feel like you guys are pretty much like farther along the path here. Like you're actually at the end of this path. I don't like, if I'd done this reading 5 years ago, I would have talked about how like you have to feel the calling and follow your path. And, 5 years ago, that was the beginning. You had some big dream, some big goal, and you set some intention, and you started just walking along the path. And that was almost easier than where you are now, because now you're actually at the end of this path. You're at the moment where the intention has to realize, like the intention has to become real. There has to be evidence. There has to be proof. It has to materialize. Like it must. So like you're at the end of this journey, and So one other level of this thing about this entrenched belief, it's because you're at the end of this path. You're at the end of this path. The path is concluding. And I feel like if you had already seen the fruition, if you had already seen the materialization, if you had already seen like the proof, if you had already seen the evidence, then you wouldn't be watching this video, because you would be like one more step further down this path. But for you guys, you're like literally at the last step, and the only thing that still needs to happen is for you to see that proof, for you to see the proof that the curse is broken, for you to see the actual proof, see the actual materialization of whatever this intention was, whatever this goal was, whatever this dream was, whatever you've been manifesting, right? Looking to see the actual material proof of it. And it's like you're there. You're there. There's nothing left for you to do. So I feel you kind of looking around and going like, well, where's the proof? Where is the proof? Where is the proof? Because I feel like whatever it is that you've been doing, whatever your intention was, it was so huge or so strange or so unique or so unexpected that you didn't fully believe that you could do it or that it would happen for you, right? Like you hoped and you dreamed, right? And you walked the path and you worked on it and you built, but there was always that like, is this going to work out? Is it going to happen? And you've kind of been pushing and grappling with this, like you've been grappling with the tension between belief and disbelief, between hope and doubt, between your inner knowing versus like reality, right? And so you're at that very end point where the two sides meet, and that's that pressure point. That's where the keystone, it is time to slot in the keystone, and like you are the keystone. That is what you have been becoming. That's what you have been becoming. You are the keystone to the doorway, to the archway, right? You are the keystone. That is the last stone that goes in, and it is the one that holds under pressure all of the shape of the arch. So there's still something I want to articulate here. But I can feel it like settling in to this kind of calmness. And I think that is really all that is left for you to do. To feel calm under pressure. Because this pressure, I mean, it will eventually go away, right? The pressure, you're not like, you're not doomed to exist under this pressure forever, right? The pressure is temporary. But there is this feeling of, can you become calm under pressure? Can you allow your nervous system to be regulated under pressure? Because I feel like you can see the evidence from that place of calmness. But it's not like a stagnant or even a stillness. It's this feeling of being calm but highly alert and still quite active. It's like a calm, centered, active state, like a highly alert, highly aware. It's not stagnant or slothy or lazy or avoiding. It's very, very alert, but it is kind of alertly calm, right? This alertly calm energy. And it's like being ready to receive the unexpected, because the evidence of your curse breaking efforts here, the result of your intentions, the fruit of your manifestation. It's, even though you are waiting for it, it's still going to be unexpected. There's something going to be very unexpected about it, because you are not one of the people who is meant to follow the steps. You are not meant to copy others. And then, some people, you see people doing this. They can like read a series of steps, and they can do the steps, and then they can have the predicted outcome. They can have someone teach them how to live, and then they can follow those steps, and they can mimic what other people are doing, and then they can have an easy life. And it's like, that actually works for some people, where they can just do what they're told and follow the leader and follow the steps and follow the prescription, and then like bam, outcome, right? And it's like, wow, isn't that nice? Don't you wish that could work like that for you? But that doesn't work like that for you because that's training wheels. Okay, you're not the kind of soul that's here to have those training wheels on. Those souls are learning like how to be alive. Okay, that's not you. You are here learning how to create and become and embody something entirely new. And especially those of you who watched the first reading, you know what I'm talking about here. So this unexpected visitor, this is going to be the proof. This is going to be the materialization. This is going to be the fruit, or the visitors will bring it to you, right? The visitors will bring it to you. Somebody's going to be bringing you this. Somebody's going to be bringing you this. And that right there, that might irk some of you, because there is something here about, I feel like you guys are all very independent creators. Like, and that is part of the struggle here. You're like, why can't I just make this happen myself? Why can't I just do this myself? There is a little bit of a hang up here where this will ideally come to pass in co-creation with others. And I think even like this is even a soul contract for you guys, where part of your challenge, because it's like you can easily do things on your own, even when that's very difficult. It's like, come hell or high water, if you have to do it by yourself, you fucking can do it, because you're that good. Right? But so to make that even harder, to give your soul more constructive work to chew on, and so that you can create something even bigger and more amazing and more complex and more unexpected, right? In order to create something truly unexpected, something that truly has never existed before, we need to blend energies. So you're actually in a soul contract here to co-create this with someone else. And so that means that it's that feeling of that struggle of working with someone else. And I don't really feel like you've been actively working with someone, but it's in order for this the final moment of proof to arrive, it has to come, like some unexpected visitor is like literally going to bring it to you, or is going to offer you the opportunity, or like, the contract, the partnership, the information, the clarity, like something has to come through from someone else. And that's the hard part for you here. That is the hard part for you here. But it's like literally here. It is part of the architecture. It's part of the architecture. Think about it that way. Don't think about it in terms of time, because that will annoy you. Think about it in terms of architecture. So this external thing is part of the architecture. Movement and rescue. Hot air balloons on both fronts here. And having this come through from, it's not that the whole thing is coming through from someone else, it's that it's just happening in co-creation with more than one person, right? And there is a kind of longer there's a longer message I could go into here, which I really don't want to get into, but let me see if I can do it really quickly. You are already well aware of the whole savior complex thing, and you're already well aware of the whole thing about how like light workers, we're not here to save people, we're not and starseeds, we're not here to like force people to wake up, that none of that is like our responsibility. You're already all aware of that whole thing, right? And you've probably already noticed something, that whole conversation, right? There's so many conversations about don't be a savior, right? Don't be a rescuer, don't rescue people. And that is all like grounded in something really, really like healthy that we needed to, you know, grapple with, right? We don't want to just run around rescuing people in a kind of pathological way. But that whole conversation has kind of gotten out of balance to the point where it starts to make it sound like the desire to help people has almost started to sound pathological. So it is not true that any desire to help others is pathological. You can absolutely desire to help others from a very soul-aligned and healthy way, and you can work to help others in a very soul-aligned and healthy way that is healthy for everyone, right? That is still true. So, and I think you get that. I think you get that. Here's the thing, though. How good are you at receiving help from others? What if someone came to you and just changed your life, right? And there's so much energy behind that statement here. Like, that is a real potential. That is a real potential. This can be happening in any way. Like, this could easily be, you know, somebody offering you the job of your dreams, right? They offer you the job and you're like, holy shit, this is going to change my life. It can be being discovered, right? Like a talent scout discovering you. It could be, you know, just somebody giving you the kind of opportunity. This can also be, and for some of you, it's going to go this way. The love of your life changes your life, not just because they are the love of your life, but because of, like, maybe they are really wealthy, right? And they even might offer you marriage, and they might even offer you marriage without a prenup. Like, imagine that. Just imagine that. Imagine if you are single and struggling. Maybe you're a single parent with kids and you're financially struggling because, like, of course, right? And what if the love of your life comes with all this wealth and that just completely changes your life because you marry this person and their wealth becomes your wealth, right? Just imagine that. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be that this person has to be super wealthy, but you can easily imagine what kind of person could just change your life, like, literally overnight, right? You know, I'm thinking of my grandparents, where my grandma, you know, she already had 2 kids, my mom and my uncle, and she was a struggling single mother. My grandpa come along, and he wasn't like rich or anything, right? But he changed their lives overnight when they married, because he brought in, you know, not only was he her husband, but he instantly became father to the children, and he provided so much, like, security and safety, like physical safety, which they needed, and, you know, security, and being those strong pair of shoulders, and did ultimately actually bring so much wealth to their lives and to my life, right? Being the grandchild of this. And it's just, right? Having someone come in like that can so dramatically change your life just overnight. And that is actually something that some people would reject, right? That some people could potentially reject that because of feeling like, you know, low self-worth could make you feel like you don't deserve that. So just be aware of that and really feel into, like, what if, just do a thought experiment. What if within the next year, for some of you, it's you got that job offer, or you got that professional partnership that you're looking for, right? Just imagine that, right? Just imagine. But really, I feel more resonance here actually around what if this year you received a marriage proposal from the love of your life, who was fucking loaded. Okay? Just imagine that. And feel into your feelings. How does that make you feel? But just let me tell you, right? Whatever it is, you so deserve it, right? You so deserve it. You so deserve this. So what you want to say is, I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve this. Whew. Yep. I'm going to leave you guys there, sending you so much love and light, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Okay. Card number 3. There's a little bit of a feeling of like you're ready to be done, but there is like so much more still to come. That is a good way of putting it, because from a place of fatigue and exhaustion, you might feel like, I'm so exhausted, I can't do this anymore. But that's not really, like, that is like kind of the shadow side of this experience, of this energy. What you want to be thinking, and I think you will be feeling this way as you move through this, as you go through some kind of reinvigorating process, you're going to start to feel like, look, I've come so far, and I have done a lot, and maybe I could just take a rest for a moment, but there is actually so much more to come. There is so much life left. There is so much love left still to be shared. There is so much more to be explored and discovered and created. And there is so much more still to come. And you see how that when you're in that fatigue exhaustion state, that sounds negative. But when you are in a rested state, that sounds amazing, right? So you can kind of, that feeling, you can kind of gauge how you are doing kind of emotionally and energetically by how exhausting or exciting the statement, there is still so much more to come. How does that feel to you, right? Does it feel like there's still so much more work to do, which doesn't sound good, or there is still so much more life left, there's still so much more to come? That's more exciting, right? So those all exist within the same bag, and it's more like, which way are you leaning, right? Frig. I'm not going to get deep into the Norse mythology here, but if that has meaning for you, you go right ahead. I can't even actually remember if Frigg is another name for Freya, or if Frigg was associated with Freya in some way. I've had this deck for a while, and I kind of go on and off on it. I haven't really intimately learned the cards, but I wanted to use it here because of the energy. So anyway, you can delve into Frigg energy if you feel like that's relevant for you. Because I'm like, why would I do that? Why would I use a deck that I'm not that familiar with, and a mythology that I'm not that familiar with? Like, I know Norse mythology is really popular, but it's actually never particularly interested me. But it's coming out here, and I wanted to bring that energy in, even though I'm not very familiar with it. Which is kind of interesting in and of itself. And I want to just take a second to feel into, like, oh, hello, kitty. Here's Mishka. I call her Mishki Poo a lot. I don't know. Part of this message is, there's a little side message here about being uncomfortable saying, I don't know. Being uncomfortable working with energies that you don't even know what they are. Being uncomfortable with like a lack of specificity. Yeah, Princess of Pentacles, and that is exactly that. This is you. This is like the return of exploration. A return of exploration. Okay. I feel like my camera's being weird. I'm sorry if this has been like low quality. I don't know what's going on here. A return to exploration, because I feel like your guys' energy is like really mature. You could be any age, but like you're old souls and your energy is quite mature. And because I feel like you've already concluded a lot of journeying. And this is this feeling of like, can you begin a new journey? Can you begin a new life? Can you begin again? And that shouldn't feel forced, right? If it's something you have to force, you want to be internally discovering that feeling of, what do I want to explore? What am I curious about? And there's even a feeling here of maybe nothing is like, I feel like you guys have already had multiple dark nights of the soul. You've already been on your North Node journeys. You've already like had all of your awakenings. It's like, it's all getting kind of old. You've been there, done that. And so that's kind of even part of the struggle here. You might be looking around almost feeling a kind of boredom, but boredom, it's like a certain flavor of boredom. Like boredom isn't quite it. It's a certain type, like boredom adjacent, where nothing really feels that interesting. You don't really know what you want to do because nothing really seems And I don't really get the sense that this doesn't really feel like depression. Because, you know, depression, like a huge sign of depression is just not being interested in the things you used to be interested in. I mean, so it could be that for some, but really it feels more just like, where is something new under the sun? You're looking for something new. There's this feeling of been there, done that. And I mean that on like a real cosmic level. Like your soul is just kind of feeling like you want to feel that feeling of being like a child again, but not in that sense of like innocence. Although it is possible to like refresh your innocence and to have innocence restored, but that's not really the message here either. You see how kind of like trying to like get really precise and zero in on this. It's this feeling of, I really miss the feeling of finding something so exciting. I mean, you guys could be in your 20s, like some of you watching this could be in your 20s, but I would really guess that most of you watching this are at least over 30, right? Probably over 35. Probably a lot of you are in your 40s or 50s or 60s. That's the kind of feeling I get here. Not that that's really important, but but like, this is why I'm saying that. Think back to when you were like 18, like 17, 18, 19, right? 17, 18, 19. Do you remember how, I mean, this is a shared experience that most people share. Not everyone shares this, but do you remember that feeling of just feeling pretty much invincible? Like you just became an adult. You are now taking on the world, and you can take on the world, and you can do anything, and you have your whole future out ahead of you. And even if your childhood and your adolescence was difficult, you were just freed from that, right? You were just freed from all of that bullshit because you just became an adult, and you're like putting that behind you, and you're just thinking about the future, and you're full of fire, like in vim and brimstone, and you're ready to blast forth and go forward, right? You're ready to take off. The feeling of being, 19 years old, right? And so many things seem so interesting, right? Life seems so interesting because there's just so much to explore. And there's so many new things, and everything is just full of potential everywhere you go. It's kind of like, I almost feel like it's not exactly that you're looking for that again, but I feel like that is what you need. Maybe, I feel like you might even be feeling so blasé that even that doesn't sound so interesting. So there's something kind of stuck. There's something kind of stuck here. Hold on, my cat, she's trying to get into the closet just over. Oh, but now she doesn't want to. After I open the closet door, she doesn't want to go in, right? But she's looking for something. She's looking for something. You guys are looking for something. Maybe like, and there's almost this feeling of, it would just be too exhausting to be that excited again, and just almost like this, you don't even believe that there is something that could get you that interested, that could make you that excited, that could make you that curious. You don't even know what that could possibly be. The King of Swords, that's that mature energy. So we have the Princess of Pentacles, like the Page of Pentacles over here, and the King of Swords with this very mature, like crystallized mental energy. These are at odds, right? These are at odds. Where do we go with this? What do we want to do with this? It's a bit of a strange energy, but it's important that we grapple with this a little bit. The Emperor, Divine Wisdom, and the Seven of Swords. The only thing left to do is to rise. Okay, so I want to take this a little bit out there. I'm really reminded, okay, so this is very much like Saturn in Aries, which this is a timeless reading, but the time I'm filming, Saturn just recently entered Aries. And that is simply one way of looking at this archetypal energy, okay? There are so many other examples I could use, but we'll just stick with that for now. Saturn in Aries is this rebellion, right? It's this rebellion against the status quo. It's this rebellion against authority. It's this rebellion against, could be, patriarchy, father figure, that type of energy. It is essentially the energy of the fall, right? It is the energy of the fall. And I feel like the story of the fall and all of the different iterations of the story of the fall, right? Of being the light bringer, right? The light bearer. Even like Prometheus, right? Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods to give it to humanity. And for that, he was exiled, right? Those type of archetypes, that's what I'm talking about here. I feel like you have that kind of pattern of the fall. That's something that your soul has really deeply explored. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I mean that the pattern of the fall, that actually means that you are essentially one of the leaders of the descension cycle. And again, that might sound negative, but that's the opposite of negative. It's about, you are the one who looked at what is. You looked at what was, right? You looked at the world that you lived in. You looked at everything, like the whole conceivable reality. You essentially looked at everything. And I mean, like, as a soul, you looked at all that was and you said, we could do better. And then that's where that rebellion is. That's where the fall happens. But it wasn't really about rebelling about what, like, it's not really rebelling in a kind of really negative way. It's more about saying, like, we could do better. We could do better. And so in order to create a new world, in order to create a new reality, to create a new experience, to create a new self, where do you go? You have to go out into the unknown. You have to descend into the unknown. So you do the fall, right? You descend into the unknown. And I have to let my cat out one sec. So in order to create something better than what already exists, you do the fall. And you have done this. Like, I don't know if you guys have like Saturn and Aries in your birth chart. This is like tons of Capricorn energy. It's like, essentially, you might have like Mars in Capricorn, something like that. Like anything to do with Saturn, Mars, Aries, and Capricorn. And even like we could get Pluto involved here too. But like, yeah, this is what's going on here. You do the fall as an act of creation. Okay, you understand the descension cycle. Okay, you understand the descension cycle. And I think for you guys, I can talk about the Archangel Lucifer as like a beautiful, benevolent figure, right? I think I can say that here to you guys. I think you will understand what I mean. Divorcing the name Lucifer from whatever religious baggage, may have been attached to it, we want to look at Archangel Lucifer as the brightest and the first of the archangels, right? The morning star, the light bringer, the architect of the descension cycle, right? Archangel Lucifer, as the brightest and the first of the archangels, was the first to descend, with the one that brought the light into the void, into the darkness, as an act of, sure, rebellion, but really more about, it's an act of exploration, an act of creation, and an act of bringing the light. to where there was no light. Bringing awareness, bringing consciousness, bringing creation, bringing oxygen to where there was none, right? So you carry this kind of archetype within you about being the first to descend, being the first to go, being the first to explore. That also means that, like, that is all, and you have this dissension pattern very deeply embedded in you, because, like, you were the one who created it. You essentially were the architect of the fall. And so here you are at the end of the dissension cycle, and now you are the architect of the return. Right? We're not doing the dissension anymore. We're not doing the fall anymore. Although what you might sometimes struggle with is you actually can internally, you can kind of loop the descent. You can loop the fall as a kind of stuck pattern, right? It can be a stuck pattern just because it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. Like when you've done something like so many times, you just kind of keep doing it out of reflex. So you're actually learning to break the pattern of the fall. Because like you're just kind of instinctively doing that sometimes. But I even feel like you've already stopped doing that. Like even that is at the past. So now you're at the fulcrum moment where there's nothing to do now but return. And now it's not about being the architect of the fall. You are now the architect of the return, right? You are the architect of the return. And it's not about redemption, right? I know in popular, like pop culture, there's been a lot of kind of pop culture representations of, you know, the devil or Lucifer, and it's like he does his redemption arcs, right? It's not redemption that you need. You are not a soul that needs redemption, okay? What you are doing is you are returning. You are returning. And you are the architect of your own return. And I see you marching up to those gates and marching up to that door and knocking on that door, and it just kind of like bursting asunder, because you are the architect of your own return. And nobody else can do this. There is, again, repeating some of the messages we received earlier in this video, there is no template for this. You are carving a path where there is no path. There is no template. You are returning in a way that no one else has returned. And it's like even you can't see how this will play out. This is like your own return. Like you are creating it. It doesn't exist yet. You are creating your own return. You are journeying into, it's like, this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing. This is why the return or the ascension, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Sometimes this has already been happening to you for multiple years. Actually, you have already been ascending. You have already been returning, but you didn't even notice it because it still felt like you were descending. Why? Because for you, the ascension is not it's not a pre-paved path. Here's the funny thing. For a lot of souls, the ascension is actually more or less a pre-paved path because they are going behind others who have gone before. Because if other people have already done it, well, then they can choose to follow those paths if they so desire, right? They can follow the path that somebody else has already blazed. But for you, the ascension can seem in some ways like the descent. The return can feel a little bit like the fall, especially at first before you get into the groove of it, before you really get into the hang of it, because you're still going into darkness. The return, you are still moving through darkness because you are blazing a trail where there is no trail. You are literally creating the path in the void. Still, you are still doing that. So for everybody else, ascension is like, oh wow, it's got so full of light and it got so easier, right? But for you, it's not like that. You're still going into uncertainty. For other people, ascension can feel a lot more certain because they can see more or less where they're going. They can at least see the path ahead of them. For you, there literally is no path ahead of you because you are paving it as you go. You are creating it as you go. So that is why sometimes you feel like you are still descending. Sometimes you feel like you are still doing the fall. When you're not, you are returning, and you are the architect of your return. Not redemption, because you don't need redemption. It is just this, it's like it's a geographic process. You're on the path of the return now. But sometimes it feels just as hard and confusing, right? It can be just as challenging and just as confusing as the descent or the fall, right? I think I just said the same thing like 30 times, but I don't know. Sometimes I get like that. So the message just keeps looping because of how much we need that idea to settle in, right? We need that idea to settle in. So I think that's basically it. I mean, we could talk a lot about that, right? We could talk a lot about that. There's really lots of deep stuff here. But I just cut the deck at Coming of Age. I'm going to take this card. I don't recall ever drawing this card before. It blows my mind. Every once in a while, this deck, the Firefox Kitsune Oracle, I've had it for years and I use it a lot. Those of you who get private readings from me know that I often use this deck to conclude a reading, and yet, even still, cards keep coming out, and it's like they've been waiting in there. Like when I have a deck for years and years and years that I use all the time, and then one day a card comes out that I don't recognize, I don't ever remember seeing it before, I always feel like, oh, it was waiting. That card was waiting for this specific person at that specific moment. It was like it was being kept in there in secret, and especially just for this one moment. Here we go, right? I mean, it's possible I've drawn this before and don't remember, but I really don't remember this, right? I really don't remember this at all. This Coming of Age. This card has been waiting for this exact moment, for this exact reading. Coming of Age. And this tells me, I'm going to read you from the book, but this tells me right away that what you're doing here in this, as the architect of the return, it's like, it's your soul coming of age in a way that those words don't even touch the concept. It's almost like you've been going through soul puberty, but here's a funny example. Think about it this way. What if humans, and one day we will see this happen on Earth, right? Imagine humanity, we start to have lifespans that are 300, 400 years long. That'll happen one day, right? Like in our biological bodies, living hundreds of years. Wouldn't it be funny if we just take this as a funny example? Wouldn't it be funny if we discovered that when the human body naturally lives to be, 500 years old, if it goes through, if another puberty-like event is triggered, imagine if there were only children, just imagine, I know this would be impossible, but I mean, except for in different dimensional realities that have and do exist, right? But you guys will just have to know what I mean here, right? Imagine if there was a reality where there were only children, and then one day the first child went through puberty and physically went through all of those changes to become an adult. Wouldn't that be wild? And here's the thing, some of you have lived through certain realities, especially realities which were fae realities, like fairies, where you were a fairy and fairies discovered puberty for the first time. That was a whole thing. That's a whole thing for somebody. But imagine that. Imagine if humans, if we lived to be 500 years old and then biological changes were triggered within us and we became something else again. And just last night, where I'm staying right now, there's a really beautiful frog choir every night. And I was thinking about how wild it is. Little tadpoles, right? Little tadpoles swimming around in their pond, and then one day they start growing legs and become frogs, right? It's just, what a wild transformation that they live through. Imagine if that happened to the human body, at 500 years old. And so then take that feeling, take that energy, and apply it to your soul. That's what you're going through. You're going through some hitherto unknown soul puberty. Becoming something that you don't know, right? Becoming something that you don't know. Really, I think all of these readings, these 3 readings, they were basically one reading, but let me read this to you to close. When a blessed and fortune-giving kitsune reaches 100, they receive a tail. I've read that as a trial, but they receive a tail, and with the ability to shift into other forms, even that of a human. With each year that passes, they gather to themselves more energy, and with every 100-year period, they receive another tail. And when they reach the stage where they have earned 9 tails, they are at a whole different evolutionary level to the other kitsune. They are so powerful that they can take any shape they wish, and they can move between heaven and earth into visibility and invisibility, and they can store the energy they have gathered in a pearl, which can be released and directed and shared with other beings. The 9-tailed fox has now come to you to share some of the energy of their many lives, the stored energy which you are able to use at this time. There is no cost to this process, for this is the duty of this kitsune. When they see someone falling just ever so slightly short of their potential, they can direct and share their stored energy, and it flows into you, and you know you have become more than you once were. You have earned this energy through your actions, and you have deserved this chance for some time now. But it was one particular act of kindness which brought good fortune to another that turned the tide for you and brought you the attention of the 9 tails. Take a moment now to feel the gathering force within you, flowing into all of your cells, expanding your potential, enlarging your very being until the true potential of your being is reached. And when that point comes, reach for what it is you have dreamt of doing. No more holding back for fear you are not enough. You are more than enough. You are the new version of your own self, and you are the beloved of the magical ones. That is the perfect conclusion of this video reading. So I'm going to leave you guys there, sending you so much love and light. I'll talk to you later. Bye.